Thanks for joining us today. We're going to have a short webinar on our series today related to the Epygi call center solution. It will be about a little bit over half an hour, and there will be a Q&A after that. And obviously, you can follow up with us later on at sales@epygi.com or my email, mario.cuello@epygi.com, to follow through any other questions that you may have. We're just going to cover the call center from a top level. We're not going to drill into the details of configuration or usage, but I just want to give you a perspective on what we have. And the idea is to stimulate your interest. And if you have an opportunity with a customer that you want to pursue and you have questions, we'll definitely help you dimension that. So not to waste any time, we're going to start right now. All right, just a quick slide, only one on Epygi. We're an American company. We've been around for 22 years. We're about 30 employees, offices in Orlando, Dallas, and Yerevan. We've been shipping initially PBX and gateway appliances since the year 2000. And we started our cloud services in 2000 and about 4 years ago. Essentially with two products, our Epygi ECQX PBX, Cloud PBX, and then our ECMOM monitoring tool. So we have other presentations. We have covered this. Should be on our YouTube channel soon. You can go through those to be able to get details of that. We focus on, small to medium business, enterprises, contact centers, hospitality, health, educational institutions, government, and multi-site. So several verticals that the product can be applied to with certain functionality specific to that. And if you're in any of those sectors, certainly let us know if you have any questions. And our philosophy is pretty much service. We feel that we need to provide good service to you in order for you to be able to deploy, configure, support these products. And so it's not just you reading on a manual. So we have a very good tech support. And we assist you in being successful with your customers. Okay, so what do we have? What is Epygi solution for call centers? It's essentially available, it's a suite of functionalities available on our QX IPPBX appliance and in our cloud ECQX PBX. You can use it for a small call center within an enterprise, which have customers that do that, or it can be a dedicated call center. Most of our applications or use of what our product has been in larger dedicated call centers. But in any case, it can be both. Right now, we have 4 software license items that are part of the call center suite. One of them is automatic call distribution, which essentially is the module that allows you to create the queues or the groups for the call center, for example, sales and marketing queue or support, have extensions dedicated as agents, assign those agents to those queues, and then manage the distribution of inbound calls. That is the ACD module. In this particular case, you pretty much configure everything on the QX PBX, and then you use a keypad. The agents use a keypad to be able to log in and log out of a queue and be able to stop receiving queue calls. I'll have a little more on ACD later on. The other module is the Epygi ACD console, EAC. This is a web-based tool that is complementary to ACD and essentially gives you a visual, a GUI interface for the agents and the supervisors to manage the call center. Okay, it is not a requirement to do call distribution, but it is highly recommendable because you have or highly recommended because you get statistics and a lot of information for managing the call center. The other tool that we have, the other two are essentially for outbound calls or outbound campaigns. So if you want to do outbound calls, both the AOC and the auto dialer are tools that allow you to import a list of numbers, and then the AOC actually would just make outbound calls on designated times and connect those outbound destinations with 3 agents on a high priority queue, while the auto dialer uses the IVR and allows the person receiving the call to navigate the IVR. So we'll have a little more detail later on these. But essentially, these are 4 licenses that we have to activate the call center functionality. And they're available in all the QX appliances except for the QX20, our smallest PBX. It doesn't allow any of these call center licenses to be active. And also, obviously, on the cloud PCQX product. Now, there's some other functionalities that are applicable in many cases to call centers. One of them is call recording. We do have as a separate activation for you to record calls from agents and have them archived for future reference. You can do that. We have an option for barge in that will let essentially a supervisor barge in into an agent call with a customer, and either as a whisper mode, where the supervisor can whisper to the agent that the customer does not hear for coaching purposes, or in a 3-way call where everybody can talk to each other, or in a listen mode only, where the supervisor can hear the agent with a customer discussion, and but he won't be able to talk to them and contribute. So barge in is very popular, especially when you have supervisors managing large number of agents. We also have a third-party call control, which is essentially activating our API for you having third-party software to control the PBX. Now, that is not a typical thing that call centers use, but in any case, it's available if you have some sort of a special dialer that you want to use that you wrote software on, and you want to use that to control outbound calls or through the PBX, you can certainly do that. So we do have an API for controlling the PBX. We have also system redundancy, not necessarily tied up to call center, but what it does is that it gives you, for a large call center, ability to have a redundant system. And in case a primary system fails, then you will be able to have a redundant unit take over the functionality right away, and essentially you don't have any downtime. Okay. All right. The other one is CRM integration. If you want to integrate to a CRM like BTiger, Salesforce, and we recently have introduced Zoho into the software package, you can certainly do that. We also have direct connection to MS Teams if you want to connect MS Teams users to extensions on the PBX, or actually have MS Teams users use the trunks assigned to the PBX. We have that available. In this case, no license is required to activate that from our end. We also have a WebRTC server on the high-end PBX, the 3000 and the 5000, where we do essentially allow you or handle WebRTC calls that are coming from browsers to come into the PBX and terminate on the PBX, whatever you like, whether it's an IVR or any extension. So we also had that available on the cloud product. So what it does is it allows you to have on your website buttons on the website where customers can click to dial, and through the WebRTC interface available on the browsers. Now, obviously, they need to have on their PC or their laptop microphone and speaker. They can actually send a call to a sales team and then talk to them and essentially get service without having to dial on their phone. So it's similar to what you see on a chat window on websites that you chat with the team. You can do this, but in this case, it will be a voice call. And finally, we have Chrome Click to Dial, where it's an add-on to the Chrome browser that is connected to your extension. And what it does is that as you open pages on your browser and you navigate with your mouse and you hover over a phone number, a small pop-up window will show and allow you to click to dial and place a call to that number and tie that call to your extension. So it's sort of a speed dial or a click to dial for any page open on your Chrome browser. And then for that, you don't need a license for that. Same thing with the WebRTC. So some of these are license items, others are free, but they're essentially complementary for a call center functionality, and you can pick and choose what you need based on your customer's needs. Now, we do have an Epygi soft phone. Epygi, as far as a desk hard phone, does not make phones, but we auto-configure most brands and models active on the market today, which is a big advantage of Epygi over some of the other solutions on the market. But we do have a soft phone that is our own, and it works very well with our cloud and on-prem devices. Essentially, it has all the functions that a soft phone needs. You can handle your call history, directories. You can also retrieve your voicemails, and it works for Android, Apple, iPhone, and Windows. You download from the stores the application, or you get it for Windows from our portal, and then you configure. In the case of the appliances, you activate a license. In the case of the cloud service, it comes with the cloud service that we offer today. You can do presence. You can also do instant messaging with other eCall participants. You can have multiple SIP accounts and multiple line appearances on each SIP account, so it makes it very flexible for you if you want to receive calls from different SIP accounts. You can load up your own logo if you want to do that to your customer, give it some personalization of your service with your customer. You can load up your own logo. And it does have 20 programmable keys, similar to BLF keys on a phone. On the right picture here, you see an example of some of those. Some of them are for opening up an audio conference or doing a speed dial, destination numbers, park extensions and retrieve park calls. You can do retrieve voicemails, like if you have a shared voicemail box. For example, it comes in on sales, share voicemail. Anybody will see this button. It's lit up. You got voicemails in there you can pick up. Or you can do date night shifting of calls. If you want to use during the day receptionist and at night go to IVR or voicemail, you can use a button to switch that back and forth. So in essence, pretty much all of the functions that you can do on a desk phone BLF, you're going to be able to do on these 20 keys on the eCall MPK. We call them MPK on the eCall. All right. Here's just one slide showing an example of the capacity of the top 3 PBX appliances, the 500 all the way to the 5,000. You can see the number of base extensions that come with it and the maximum they can grow to, and then the concurrent capacity of calls. As you can see, between the 3,000 and 5,000, you have a large capacity of concurrent calls to the outside. The maximum capacity of call recording ports, same thing with audio conference ports, simultaneous audio conference ports. It doesn't have to be on one conference. It could be obviously many conference rooms. How many edges can be simultaneously logged in, as well as phone BLF subscriptions, and if they do have WebRTC or not. You can see the 500 and below do not have the WebRTC server, but the 5,000 and the 3,000 do. These capacities are assuming there's no mix. Once you start mixing, call recording with EAC agents, the capacities are diminished because it pretty much there's a mix of CPU utilization. Now, we do have a table in our portal that gives you an idea about that. But what we want to illustrate here is that with these appliances, you have a very large capability for a larger type call center. All right, so let's talk a little more detail about some of these functions. ACD management, or pretty much how do you handle the ACD, some of the calls. In our case, you can receive calls to the call center using the auto attendant. For example, press 1 for sales, 2 for marketing, 3 for support, and then go to a queue. Or you can have direct DID numbers assigned to different queues. Or you can call, send a call to a receptionist, and when they say I want to go to sales, she forwards the call to the queue for sales, for example. And then, of course, any agent available there would take care of that call. Or you can use a WebRTC I mentioned before. So there are many ways to handle inbound calling before you send them to the queue. And as far as the agents are concerned, the agents, when they're logged in, they're going to be able to receive calls from the queues as well as to their extension, as well as making any kind of direct inbound or outbound call to their extension. I mean, their extension is still used normally as they would. They're just going to be able to get incoming calls from the queues. And of course, they log in, log out to activate or deactivate getting the calls from the queue. We also have on the EAC console different statuses, like present status, that the agent can also use. With pretty much the same effect. I mean, if you're on lunch, you won't be able to get any calls during that time. You can be local inside the office in the on-prem, or you can be remote, and obviously on the cloud, you can be anywhere. But idea is that if you have agents that are working from home and you're using the on-premise product, you can do that. They can have access to EAC. You just have to open up ports in your router between the PBX and the agent at home to be able to get to the EAC console. But you can certainly do that, or you can even send calls to agents to their mobile device. Okay, and then agents can belong to one or more queues. You may have a superstar agent that can do sales and marketing and support. He can belong to all of the queues at the same time. So whatever you choose. All right, here's just an illustration about how calls coming in. As you can see, we have a 200 here with 2 different trunks. We got PSTN trunks, and we got SIP trunks through an ITSP, and we got customers A, B, C, D, and E coming in, making calls. It goes to an IVR in this case, and then there are 3 different queues. The customers are going to press 1, 2, or 3 to be able to go to sales, marketing, or TSS support. And essentially get into the queue, and then eventually agents, Sam, Mark, Monica, hey, Jane, are assigned to those queues. When they're logged in, answer the call. So very simple, very straightforward illustration of how you can do using an IVR. Now, for the ACD activation license, the one that I mentioned to you, that is a basic license that you need to have in order to create the queues and assign agents to the queues. Essentially, it does not require the console. You don't need to have that. That's optional. But the EAC is recommended because it provides you all of the reports. So on ACD, the agents log in, log out with a keypad using star 83, or you can have a program button, as I was showing earlier on the BLF, to be able to activate their login or deactivate. And then we do different call distribution types. So you define that for the agent. It could be a call coming in. All of the agents are going to ring. The first one answering the call gets that call from the queue. You can do a round robin, where you actually sequentially ring to agents. If they don't answer, it goes to the next one. You can go longest idle. So the agent that hasn't had a call for the longest time is the one that is going to get the next call. Or random hunting. In this case, it will be random. Or skill level. And, you define on agents different skill levels. Let's say agents have a skill of 10 numerical value, and others have a skill of 8 or 9. And what it does is that a call comes in, and based on the skill level, the highest skill level agent available is going to give the inbound call to that agent. So that is what is called skills-based. So several different options how you want to distribute the inbound calls on the queue to free agents. Now, how we handle the caller in the queue, there are several options in here. Obviously, callers coming in and we play a welcome message where they're on the queue. Let's say, welcome to Epygi. Someone will be with you on sales in a minute, for example, which you can actually mix with music on hold. It could be music or messages, a playlist that you can load up on the QX, a combination of some tunes with some messages, in addition to a repeating queue message. So plenty of flexibility on you. How do you want to combine what the caller is going to be hearing while they are in the queue? Now, at the same time, there are means for you to manage how the callee or the caller is supported on the queue. You could have a timeout where the caller stays there for too long. You can send them to certain extensions, or you can do play a message that what is their number on the queue, or what is their estimated time on the queue. Okay, so that they have an idea how long they're going to be holding off. Or you can allow them to do a zero out, where they press 0 on the keypad and you redirect them to some other extensions. Or they can have the option to opt out and then get called when they're free. So, they hang up and then they will receive a call from an agent when the agent is free. So a few different options in how you manage what the callers see when they are and they can do when they're on the queue. All right. The ACD console is the web-based application I mentioned to you. So you actually don't, there's no application installed on Windows. You just web access to the PBX to a special section with your own credentials as an agent. And when you log in, you have a lot of options in there, and it's both for agents and supervisors. So it is it gives you a dashboard and a queue panel, pretty much intended for displaying on a big screen on a call center. The dashboard will show a lot of real-time and statistical information for everyone to see, while the queue panel will do a similar thing, but pretty much will show all the agents. So this is pretty much the display that call centers will certainly have on a big room, or it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, an agent or a supervisor can see the same thing. So you can manage the agent statuses, the handling of the calls. You can block agents from receiving calls. You can see what agents are having what call. All of the statistical information related to the status of the agents, time on the call, how much time the average have on the call, how much time the calls are being on a queue, average time for answering the call, average time of the call, and so forth. All of this information is available on the EAC. And again, the supervisor can see it for all the agents, and the agents can see it for themselves and for their queue. Okay, so there are different options what you can see there. You can also, if you have barge in, you can also, the supervisor through the screen can barge in on a call just by looking at the agents on the list and said, I want to barge in on this particular call right now and see what's going on. You can do that. And we do have a lot of reports that are visible on the screen on the GUI, but we have many of them that are downloadable. So most of them are downloadable on CSV file, and then you can open them on Excel for manipulation later on. Okay, so they're predetermined reports, and we actually have a list of these reports on a document in our portal. And usually we keep on adding some new ones as some people ask us to do. So there are plenty available there, but if there's something that you may need that we don't have, let us know, and we'll be happy to look into that. You also have a means to chat with other agents. So there's a chat tool in EAC to be able to, share information. And also, you can do closure codes. Not used too much, but what it does is essentially when you finish up a call as an agent, you can look at the call record there and you can put in either a pre-selected closure code like to be called, check back, not interested, whatever, or you can freehand some comments. And the system will let you have so many seconds that you program for you to be able to, once you hang up the call, go to that record and then enter that information before you can ring again with a new call from the queue. Okay, so that is called closure codes. All right. And finally, there's a scrolling message, like we call it marquee. So it's like the ticker in Times Square, where on the top of the screen, the supervisor can put in messages that are intended for everyone. We'll be closing in 10 minutes. We have an offer right now of 5% off for everyone. Any kind of message that you want to scroll on the screen for the agents to see by a supervisor, we have that capability. All right. Here are a couple of screenshots, and we do have, if you want to get a demo of this, we can do it with our support team with a live call generator that will give you the ability to see how the calls are handled and the queues and all that. Or if you want to try it yourself, we certainly can give you a test license. But what we see here is on the queue pane or the queue window, you see this particular queue is test 2, and you have different colors showing active real-time info as well as time span information. The ones on the bottom, answer calls, total calls, abandoned calls, rejected within a time span. In this particular case, the time span selected was today, for example. Okay, so the pane in the bottom is the what we call the queue panel. That one will show all of the agents assigned to the queues. In this case here, there are 4 queues: test 1, 2, 3, and test queue Harant. And you can pick and choose the ones you want to show. But once you select that, it would show you all of the agents on that queue. And then there's different colors for the status that they're in. Okay, so it's just a different type of dashboard. All right. This one here, we're showing the main dashboard in the top. Here, there is the time frame that we're showing for this stats is today. And these are all different percentages and statistics that are typical for call centers. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but you can pick and choose what you want to show here. You can pick the interval level for doing this statistics. Okay, whether it's 50 seconds, 100 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever, and then the time frame for doing the calculation. So very real time. This is usually what supervisors in call centers may be looking for. For example, they want to make sure calls don't get on a queue more than a certain amount of time. And then they use the statistics and this information to be able to go and fine tune the services that they offer. And then the bottom pane is just showing the reporting tab. And there you see some of the different reports that are available. And you can actually download this by hand, a CSV, or you can schedule this to be downloaded at a certain date and time and send over to an external FTP, and then you can manage that later. I believe we can send them as an email too. I'm not sure about that, but I think we can do that too. All right. Okay, automatic outbound calling. AOC is one of the 2 outbound call tools. By the way, everything I talked up until now for the ACD is for inbound calls, inbound call center. But if you want to do any outbound call center functionality, we have the AOC and the auto dialer. Now, the AOC is also a web-based application. It is similar to you go into the PBX and you log into a different window than the window of EAC and with your credentials, and then it will let you create outbound call campaigns, one or many, load up a call list for sending to that or activating that call campaign. And then what it does is that when you trigger it for it to activate, it will start calling these numbers, okay? And then once the person asks, then it will connect that person to a high priority queue on your ACD. So the high priority queue has precedence of any of the other queues, and that way you can certainly have agents that belong to the outbound call center high priority queue or to the inbound, but most of the people probably had just dedicated agents to the outbound call center and would essentially connect the call to the agent so that they would do their part. Now, telemarketing or some sort of sales marketing type campaigns. Another one could be, I don't know, we talk about doctors also, but actually doctors are better on the next one, on the next slide. But at the end of the day is for be able to do outbound campaigns by inputting a series of numbers you want to call into the AOC tool, okay? And of course, you have options where it tries to make a call and there's no answer. You can try to do the call again, all right? And you can have more than one campaign at a time. All right. The last item we have here is the auto dialer, and this is a Windows-based application. It is not web GUI. So you install the app on Windows connected to your PBX, and it's a little bit different than the AOC. In this particular case, what you do is that you still input a set of numbers from an Excel file, CSV file into the auto dialer, similar to AOC. But then you configure an IVR. So what it does is that it calls out these numbers and then plays an IVR that you configure to the customer. And then the customer can select options, pressing buttons on the key, and then you can navigate that IVR, or you eventually can distribute the call to destination numbers. Now, any IVR could do that, but the important thing in here is that the key pressed by the customer is recorded back in your call list. So an example is a doctor's office that would like to confirm appointments for the next day. So instead of receptionist dialing in all these numbers and to confirm the visit, the auto dialer can dial out the numbers, play the message, call from doctor such and such, press 1 for important message. Then it can say you have an appointment tomorrow at 5 p.m. It can tell you that from the reading from the text to speech, right? And then confirm if you want to show up pressing 1, or reject it, press 2, or if you want to reschedule, press 3. And depending if they press 1 or 2, that result is going to go back to the call list. And if they press 3, obviously it's going to go to a receptionist to reschedule. So once you finish up that campaign, then you look at the CDR and you can see whether they're coming, they confirmed it or not. Now, a lot of doctors have SMS that can do that today. We certainly can do that, but in this particular case, it is a phone call, okay? So it's essentially an outbound type of campaign capability using the PBX. All right. This is our last slide, Epygi competitive advantages. So it's just a sort of a summary what our claim to fame is going to be. Essentially, everything is done by Epygi in-house. We don't use any open source asterisk engine or anything similar to that. It's all done by us, and it's well polished over all these years in business. We have a lot of experience with PBX and gateways, with a on-premise line of products. So we have applied the same expertise into the cloud product. Excellent technical support and good training modules that we have. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we're going to have a training on the call center functionality, and it's going to have that at 11. If you haven't subscribed in our portal, please do so. And it will be a lot of information for you on the call center topics. Integration with many phone vendors, models, as I mentioned before. You can pretty much use any SIP trunk provider that you like. Many of them we have on a Wizard. No long-term contracts when you're using our cloud product. It is on a month-to-month basis. No setup fees, no hidden cost. Okay. By the way, the pricing is very competitive. And then, of course, you can, with us, same GUI. Once you learn how to use the GUI on the on-prem, it's the same as on the cloud. So same configuration applies to both products if you want to have a mix on those. And then finally, here is a contact information. So also at Epygi.com. We're in social media, our website. If you want to do an online EAC demo, let us know, and we'll be happy to do that for you. It will give you a good visibility of how the tool works. Okay. So at this time, I am going to